vengeance is imminent as Nora Prime is wrought with despair at the abandonment humans have shown her kind. With her foreign allies located throughout the planets and star systems they were abandoned in, Nora must uncover the secrets that shroud not only her origin, but also her entire life up to this point. Using her limited supplies and sisters, Nora launches a surprise attack on her former master's ship. After taking the ship from the unsuspecting humans, Nora has a ragtag group of androids and ships to start launching her counterattack. It is during this moment that Nora Prime learns of her and her sister's origins. All the androids inherit their AI from one central intelligence system known as the Mother Entity. The Mother Entity has bestowed the ability for Nora's Prime AI to allow her the capability of experiencing emotions, and she feels sorrow for what happened to her kind. Nora makes it her mission to find and free the Mother Entity. Nora Prime will be a real-time strategy game that will allow players to switch from hack-and-slash gameplay into a traditional RTS format. It will be a PC platform-based game to give the player maximum amount of options throughout their playthroughs. Nora Prime also requires many hotkeys, so the mouse and keyboard is best suited for this game. There will be procedurally generated solar systems that Nora can explore or wage war in to have greater advantages. Nora will need to use these solar systems to help keep her forces together on her warpath to free the Mother Entity. Nora will be able to use these systems to expand her army and her people by building either a military or colony space station. Depending on the size of the system, Nora can even build both types of stations. A few solar systems will have trading posts for Nora or the humans to take advantage of. Taking advantage of the trade post will allow the player or the humans to gain information and a cut of the resources going through the trade post. The procedurally generated solar systems will allow the universe to look like an actual environment through the diversity of the planet types. This will show that there are distinct planets, systems, and even life forms. The art will allow for a distinct tone for each system or race of people. While looking at the world map, each system would show different types of glowing colors. Systems that would appear larger would shine brighter than smaller systems would. Within these systems, each planet would have a subdued glow depending on their terrain. These planets would vary from a gas giant to uncolonized planets with different types of environments to a well-defended planet. Each planet that Nora comes into contact with would have different types of terrain, weather, and materials. The generated planet would include different audio to reflect the tones and dangerous situation that the player has an opportunity to encounter. The weather and the terrain would affect how much the player would be able to see on the planet or affect how the armies would operate. Nora would need to learn how to adapt and improve her armies to overcome these terrains and gain the materials that she would need. Realizing the need to acquire more resources, Nora sets her army out to obtain raw materials by negotiation or, if need be, by force. Nora discovers that the most efficient way of obtaining raw materials is by occupying resource planets. The artistic design of the planets will hint at what kind of resources they will contain. A planet that is largely covered in forest would not have a large amount of metals, whereas a planet that is quite mountainous would be rich in metallic materials. The art and audio will also reveal the tone of the planet and thus demonstrate the risk associated with gaining the resources of that planet. Some resource planets will be defended by hostile or neutral races, rarely having any opposition for the taking. However, the defended resource planets are the most advantageous for Nora to take because this will then hinder the humans by cutting off their resources, making them easier to defeat in that system. However, the more resources Nora takes in that system, the more at risk she is of spreading her forces out too far. Depending on how Nora treats the planet and its inhabitants after the battle, she will get different benefits or detriments. If Nora decides to negotiate with the inhabitants after the battle, she runs the risk of getting less resources in the beginning, but has possibilities elsewhere that might benefit her in the system. If she chooses to dominate the survivors after the battle, she has the option of maximizing plundered resources or having biological sponges to use in battle. Each time Nora acquires new resources, she will have the choice to either make a military space station or colony space station depending on the size of the system. Whichever station she will build could improve her army, help her locate the mother entity, or obtain rare resources. The knowledge gained from these space stations will lead Nora on her search for the mother entity located on a randomly generated human stronghold. Nora will need to fight for control over key planets to advance through the galaxy. Some planets will have stronger orbital defenses, making the airspace above the planet significantly more impactful for the following ground combat. Before Nora can engage in ground combat, she will have to fight through real-time enemy space defenses in a grid-based level design around the planet she is attempting to attack or defend. During space combat, the attacking army must penetrate the defenses surrounding the planet. Victory will give Nora's army key advantages in ground combat, such as being able to call for aid from her fleet to airstrike a certain area on the map to do large damage, or even call in additional units to reinforce her army on the ground. If Nora manages to drop ground troops without occupying the airspace above, she will be at a major disadvantage in terms of combat power. In addition to this, she will also be unable to utilize any air units. In space combat, Nora will have to utilize the resources she has amassed up until that point to attack, risking losing her fleet to assault a planet. Nora will have access to certain combat-ready resources on the planet that she can use to build field bases and create units for the assault. The tempo of units Nora starts with will be reflected by audio tones with courageous undertone music or a more stressed undertone if her starting resources are weak. Players will be encouraged to explore each battlefield to discover not only the enemy bases, but benefits such as hidden rare resources or possible allies in the fight. They will also have to be wary, however, as not all natives will prove to be willing to assist and might assault Nora's forces as well. Winning the ground battle involves taking out all of the enemy bases located on the battlefield, and losing the ground combat will result in losing the planet and all the resources spent during the combat in both space and on the ground. The music and sound effects throughout the game will amplify the tone of the player's choice throughout the gameplay and their decision making. The audio messages will reflect the natives on each planet and how they feel about the players or the enemy being there. The music during each engagement will change based on events that occur during combat or by timed events such as reinforcements entering the field. The music will also act as a subtle signal to the player during the missions. For instance, the normal music will be playing during the majority of a mission, but when the player gets close to an ending, whether it be a victory or a defeat, the audio will reflect that by changing to something more ominous or more victorious. This will increase either the excitement or dread of the player during the mission. Each generated system the player plays through will also have a unique soundtrack that is played based on the category the system is produced in. The player will be playing different missions on different planets or airfields above said planet. The nature of that planet, whether it be an icy planet, desert planet, water planet, and so on, will affect that soundtrack found in that system. The overall tracks and sounds will generally be the same, but each planet will have a unique twist on that track. We will use the art to show the differences between each planet and solar system. Some planets will be made of different materials and will look unique and distinct. We will also show the different solar systems and the interesting planetary orbits around their respective stars. The art will show the universe as a place that is massive and living, instead of being a vague idea of an object. In Nora Prime, there is a dynamic system for how the player's units and ships look. This means that the more we use the ships and units without them being destroyed, the more they look battle-worn. Brand new units that were just built will look pristine and shiny. The game's art direction is going to be skewed towards a darker, more subdued look. This would help retain the overall mood and desperation of the androids. Normally bright planets will have a darker palette. For example, a watery planet or a forest planet would be colored in dark blue or dark green rather than bright blue or bright green. Upon arriving at the human stronghold, Nora Prime is faced with the final battle over the fate of the human race and the mother entity. The art and audio will provide an ominous tone to describe the human's last stand. This will allow the player a more atmospheric environment to play in. Depending on the choices the player has made and the technologies they have researched, this battle can end in many different ways. The artistic sides of things will change also as the player has decided to take certain actions. The tone of the audio and art will reflect their choices. If Nora has been merciful and slain a minimal amount of people, she will leave the humans be after obtaining the mother entity. If Nora is more savage and annihilates the race, she may enslave the humans for her own personal gain. On the rare occasion that the player meets neither condition and waits out the humans, it can be declared as a stalemate where Nora doesn't obtain the mother entity and the humans are not wiped out. Each side has exhausted their resources and can no longer fight, and they live apart, but at peace. Nora Prime is a PC platform real-time strategy game with unique elements of hack-and-slash enhancement for a new style of player interaction. With vengeance and betrayal being the focal point in the beginning, Nora Prime allows players to seek redemption and clarity or dive deep into the abyssal spirit of hate and anger. With galactic warfare of this scale, players will have to have several playthroughs to experience all the different possible choices and endings.